It's great. Thank you very much for this sign. I would like to welcome you on the discussion panel concerning internationalization of doctorate schools. I am very happy that you are here with us despite the hour and a very fruitful and rich day. I would like to welcome you very warmly and I would like to welcome our guests, Aleksandra Lewandowska, I'm sorry, this is Justyna Frącz-Dąbrowska, Professor, Director of the Doctoral School, Warsaw University of Life Sciences, Paulina Góra, M.A., Engineer, Chairwoman of West Pomerania Association of Doctoral Candidates, Member of the Presidium of the General Council of Science and Higher Education, where she is the representative of the Polish National Representation of Doctoral Candidates, Research and Teaching Assistant, Maritime University of Szczecin. I would like to welcome M.A. Engineer Ignacy Rogoń, who's the chairman of the Doctoral Student Self-Government Council of Gdańsk Technological University and vice chairman of the Agreement of Doctoral Students of Technical Universities, Gdańsk University of Technology. I would like to welcome PhD Anna Sobocińska, Mentorship Team Leader, Polonium Foundation. And I would like to welcome Anna Nieczaj, MA and Engineer, Board Member of the Polish National Association of Doctoral Candidates, Rzeszów University of Technology. This is Rzeszów, city in Warsaw. My name is Aleksandra Lewandowska. I am the Plenipotentiary for International Cooperation, Polish National Association of Doctoral Candidates. And I am a member of the European Association of Doctoral Candidates as well. It is my pleasure to deliver this panel, to host this panel. It is the only panel which takes place second time during the second Internationalization Congress of Doctoral Schools. This subject is important, and because we can look at it from various perspectives. Today we invited doctoral postgraduate students to show their perspectives and people who support them during their doctoral studies. And I am looking at our panelists who are listening to doctoral students' needs and who puts words into practice. There are many discussion panels and many important and fruitful discussions. However, the most important thing is to make words into actions. And I think the best way to start this panel will be from you, Professor. I'd like to ask you, what are the challenges of Polish doctoral schools in terms of internationalization? It is my great pleasure to be here with you today. It is a very renowned group of speakers here. Can you hear me? No, we can't. Oh, I speak very quietly. Maybe it's better now. There are many challenges. And most probably we're going to have new challenges as well, because we are introducing certain amendments and changes and reviews during the shaping of doctoral schools. We are during the first cycle of education, and we are collecting experience concerning this cycle. In terms of internationalization of doctoral schools, we may say that there are certain challenges which we can face, obviously. However, we need time. For example, we need time to reach doctoral studies, doctoral students who are from abroad. So there are students in foreign countries which are far away from our country, and they send emails to many potential promoters individually, but we are looking for a group of such students from a given country. We would like to reach such groups. However, it is not easy. From my experience, I can say that universities focus on uniform groups, and the doctoral school I work at is made of 15 different disciplines. Therefore, the needs are varied. There are certain issues that worry us. For example, we have certain complications in gaining doctoral advisors from foreign centers. It is already happening. We're contacting such doctoral advisors. However, this is progressing very slowly. I will do my best to share as much knowledge as possible. We also face certain organizational difficulties. If we want to invite speakers and lecturers from foreign countries for a longer period of time, longer than, for example, 1 week, then it is difficult to invite somebody for 10 days. And if we want to invite somebody for a month, it is close to impossible. This is the same situation for doctoral studies participants. If they want to go to foreign centers when given research is conducted on the highest level, then it is not easy. We have 2 finalists. One is going to be at Stanford University next month. So we can do it. We can succeed. However, the path of reaching this goal is very bumpy. Another limitation is the so-called postdoc posts. In our country, we do not have formal position which would be equivalent to postdocs understood in the international cooperation way. The biggest challenge for us here is to gain finances. We have the STAR projects from the International Academic Exchange Agency and great assistance of people who work in this agency and who help us. We also have difficulties in gaining the so-called preludia. The share of success is not very high, and it seems that in the nearest future it can even drop. Are we going to have questions at the end of the panel? Yes, I just don't want to take too much time. And I'd like to mention certain possible paths of solutions or improvements. We will move on to solutions in the next part of our panel. We want to confront this perspective. We have doctoral students who are often not aware of the problems located at administrative or financial area, and they have certain expectations, but they are not aware of difficulties. Now, counter perspective to Master of Science Engineer Paulina. What are the doctoral schools' actions that should be undertaken to support the internationalization process from the perspective of doctoral students participants? So from this perspective, I believe that doctoral schools undertake crucial initiatives in spreading knowledge. For example, doctoral schools have already succeeded in introducing English recruitment process and undertaking education, delivering education in English language. Another element is promotion of the whole university, not only the doctoral schools, because doctoral schools are often not a separate entity. Therefore, there is the promotion of educational grants, international cooperation, which reaches doctoral studies participants in our country and abroad. The key role in internationalization is due to several programs. For example, in Szczecin, we have Preludium Bis competition. From my perspective, it is a great competition, and it is it's sad that we didn't have another recruitment there. And we have the competition Preludium Bis, and people who gain internships thanks to this are very satisfied because they gained a lot of knowledge, and it has very good influence on the process of internationalization of doctoral schools. All the competitions like this one, for example, the Opus competition, work as a magnet for doctoral student studies participants from abroad. The Pomerania Technological University this year became a European university. Right now it belongs to Unicoast alias. There are 13 universities from the island and the shore. And in our doctoral school, we have just introduced the English recruitment process and English language as a language of delivering education. This is another step in internationalization. This is the response to demand. When we have recruitment process in Polish, then the candidates who applied from other countries wrote directly to our doctoral school, asking questions, how can they get education here? So further steps, the steps we have undertaken is the response to the demand.
You have mentioned universities. In the past, it was very clear doctoral candidate needs to work with a university. It has changed. The doctoral schools are in a way separated from universities now, but not completely. I would like to ask Mrs. Nieczaj about that. From the perspective of a doctoral candidate, which activities of universities would be useful to promote internationalization? Well, it has been mentioned several times already during this panel, but also before. The English language and English language courses in doctoral schools are essential. Well, language barrier does not constitute such a significant problem anymore as it was the case in the past, but sometimes it still does a little bit. English is really helpful. And such courses make it possible for our doctoral candidates to become more open, to be able to collaborate with other academic centers in the future. It gives them courage, confidence in using English. They are no longer afraid to use it. So that's number one. Number two, documentation. Documentation at universities should be created in both languages, Polish and English, because many candidates, when they want to apply to some international courses, do not have access to documentation from their university in the English language, which is very discouraging. Another issue, and this is something universities have been already doing, organizing information events. Events where people can come and learn about the opportunities to do an internship abroad, to take a course abroad. Such informational meetings are essential because they can really help doctoral candidates find their path. So I believe it's crucial to organize such meetings. Also bear in mind that such meetings should be carried out in English so that they are also available to international candidates, not only Polish-speaking ones. Thank you very much for what you said. You have focused a lot on the English language as a potential barrier. And indeed, this is something we hear very often, for example, from the self-government of doctoral candidates. The focus today is science, how However, it is our self-government that makes sure that the quality of teaching in doctoral schools remains high. My next question goes to Mr. Rogoń, president of one of the most internationalized doctoral self-governments in Poland. Could you tell us about the challenges of internationalization, also in the context of inclusion? Ladies and gentlemen, can you hear me? Could you please keep it closer to your mouth? So when we talk about challenges from the perspective of our self-government, whether it's a self-government of students or doctoral candidates, the first thing we need to emphasize is the fact that all doctoral candidates are members of the self-government. We don't make a distinction between Polish candidates and other nationalities. We are all members of one community. So the first thing we tried to do at the Gdańsk University of Technology is to give people a sense of belonging. PhD Open is an event we organize every year. So this is the moment when students are accepted as doctoral candidates at that event. We try to give them useful information, including about just, operating or functioning in a doctoral school. There are also a number of other things we do. For example, this year we're going to have a discussion panel, and we will introduce doctoral candidates to the system of financing, of scholarships that are available. STER is just one of them, but we will also present others. And this gives them a sense of belonging. When they all sit in one room, they feel that they belong, that they are a community. So that's number one. Number two, cultural differences and the fear of other, the fear of someone who's different. So how are we trying to address this challenge? We have tried to introduce the so-called Cultural Day. It's an event, and if our doctoral candidates want, whether they come from Poland or another country, they can make a presentation about their country in different forms. They can show national some traditions, make a presentation, or national costumes, or cook something. And I was really surprised to see how many people were interested this year. Unfortunately, and I was sorry to see that Polish doctoral candidates did not feel the need to make a presentation about their culture. I do hope it will change in the future. The third challenge, also a rather frequent one, but I'm not only talking about the Gdańsk University of Technology, but self-government in general. So for example, the statutes and other documents regulating the operations of our self-government are not available in English. If we expect international doctoral candidates to comply with our rules, let's make them available to them in a language they will understand. Recently, we started working on a unified code of ethics for doctoral candidates. It's part of the Fahrenheit University, which means the University of Gdańsk, Gdańsk University of Technology, and the Medical University of Gdańsk. We are all called the Fahrenheit University, but the existence of such a document is not sufficient. It needs to be promoted. So this is what we are going to do. There will be a number of campaigns, because it is very clear that we will see some cultural differences. There may be some clashes. It's unavoidable. However, my experience shows, and I want to emphasize, 1/3 of our self-government, which corresponds with some 150 people, are people from other countries than Poland, and they are very willing to get involved. They are prepared to do a lot if we give them a chance. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I have an impression that during this conversation, we've been solving problems already. So all that can be done in cooperation with the self-government of doctoral candidates. We have just heard that self-governments are prepared to really take an extra effort, walk an extra mile, just to facilitate integration. Would you like to respond to that? Yes. Well, from our perspective, some of the problems are there. Some have surprised me. I was surprised to see that documents are not available in the English language. For example, the enrollment process. When we invite foreign citizens to study at our document schools, it's unexpected that all documents will be available in English. So I do believe that the majority of schools do have them in both languages, and it is only an exception that in some they are not available. Of course, this may be true for the basic documents. Maybe the further we go in detail, maybe some, more specific detailed regulations will not be available. As regards difficulties, as I said in the beginning, a problem I see is just, reaching individual people in individual disciplines. The self-government and the Council of Doctoral Candidates have been very active. Also, our foreign doctoral candidates have been very willing to help and have been very active in that regard. And yet it is difficult to reach the doctoral candidates we would like to see study at our schools. I'm talking also about European candidates from European countries, from Western Europe, from Northern Europe as well. We have many candidates willing to study at our schools who come from very remote countries. And this is associated to a number of problems with a visa or other permits that are necessary for them to study. In my center, we've had this problem several times that a doctoral candidate was supposed to apply for a new permit, and he hasn't been able to receive the previous one yet. And I'm not pointing the finger. I don't think anyone is to blame for that. But just imagine how stressed this person is. He couldn't go to any conference. He wasn't able to just develop scientifically, academically, naturally. It made him frustrated. He came to our country. He had interesting research, and he was unable to present it anywhere or develop himself as a scientist. We have received information about such problems both from our employees who help international doctoral candidates. And regarding that permit is a short-term residence permit, and they reported that the forms that need to be completed to receive that permit are unavailable in English. Obviously, we live in Poland, so the forms must be available in Polish, but why not just add a translation underneath the Polish text? Because without that, the candidates have to resort to Google Translate, or I think it may be perceived as impolite, really. And I would like to refer to what you were saying, the gentleman from the Gdańsk University of Technology was mentioning, because immediately I had to think about our workshops. We organize workshops. Actually, a woman who works at our university, it's a person who has traveled the world. She visited all continents. She does the workshops, and it's just incredible how much joy it brings to everyone if someone from another country makes a presentation and, for example, tells us that one gesture that is perceived as polite in our country, in their country, is the exact opposite. It also teaches us to understand one another and teaches us how to behave in a way that will not offend, but reach another person. Also a presentation on the role of smiling. It is not always safe to smile at everyone. I'm not very well informed on that, so I attend these workshops in order to learn. So multicultural events are really helpful. Should I tell you a little bit about the improvement we've seen in these areas? Yes, why don't we make a shift from problems to solutions?
Yes, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that we should look on the bright side of this situation and follow good practices and follow good examples. We should share them and we should implement them and adopt them to our individual situation. I'd like to share with you several practices, good practices, which we have developed during the 5 years long period of functioning of doctoral schools. Those good practices are developed in a very natural way. One very important practice right now covers around 100 doctoral schools. In the beginning, there were only a few schools. Now we meet every day on Friday at a coffee. These are the coffee meetings, and Professor Ilona Świątek-Barylska is the moderator of such meetings, and I am providing you with names and surnames on purpose, because these are the people who are active and who commit to the whole environment of doctoral schools, doctoral studies participants, and everybody. Because in this group, we share our doubts, we share problems, we look for solutions. Sometimes if we are not certain what to do, we get certain counseling and advice from our friends, because right now these are the meetings of friends. We have already mentioned West Pomerania agreement of doctoral studies participants. Yes. So we have cooperation with this organization. It's fantastic. This cooperation is fantastic, and we know each other thanks to those meetings. Later on, next we have the Warsaw Doctor Studies Agreement, and this is the second oldest agreement of doctoral studies participants, because West Pomerania was the first one. It is a good practice. There is also the Council of Young Scientists. It is very active, very strong, and robust, and it's working for the benefit of doctoral studies participants and graduates and for science. Another element, which is not a small light but a great torch, it is, and I'm talking here about our meetings with PhD Maciej Ptula, Undersecretary at the Ministry of Science and Higher Education. I have already participated in several meetings with the minister. Those meetings are about things which can get improved, but also about limits and restrictions. And we learn what we can't improve in short time perspective. I would also like to mention one more organization. In NAWA, we have a document which has been developed for the period of COVID, and we are realizing this project in a totally different reality. And we have support of the employees of this institution. Andrzej Szachewicz helps us a lot, and this person is incredible. If not for him, we would have resigned already. But this organization and its employees make us stay and work further on. In the end, I'd like to mention Tomasz Piotrowski, Deputy Director in the Ministry of Science and Higher Education, who is active from the very first days of Doctoral Schools. And we have this person here in this room today, but I wanted to mention you. I didn't know that you would be here. I would like to say that we are very grateful to you, and we are very grateful for being treated seriously since the very beginning. You were forever honest with us. You said why you do not agree with our arguments. You never said no because no, or no because it's not feasible. When we work with you, it is always a discussion, exchange of points of view, and you and your team show care for doctoral schools, and this care stems from your heart. Thank you very much for this. So it's good to have support. We need this support. But we haven't mentioned mentoring today at all. And mentoring seems to me not broadly promoted among students and doctoral studies participants. But maybe I'm wrong. Today we have editor Anna Sobocińska, who is the mentorship team leader in Polonium Foundation. You can either correct my way of thinking or explain what mentorship is, and can we use it in the process of internationalization of doctoral studies environment. So maybe I'll start with a question. What do you think about mentorship, mentoring, and what do you know about a mentorship program, for example? So we've got one person, two people. Let's say today we have a certain bias because we have people who are interested in it. In this room, I can see 30 people, and 2 people know something about mentorship programs. So this was introduction about this program. This shows you how many people in this environment know about this type of relationship. It is semi-professional relationship. This is how I call it. And in the context of internationalization, it has great chances for intermediary improvement of situation. Mentoring is semi-professional relationship based on trust and friendship, and it is usually initiated informally. It's not through a program, it's not through participation of people. And it's great if such relationship just occurs on your professional path. It's good to seize this chance. However, for all the rest of you who do not have the mentor, can get into programs such as, for example, Polonia Mentoring. I organize it in cooperation with the Polonium Foundation. In our Polonium Foundation, we have scientists from Poland and with Polish origins, people who are working abroad. There are Poles who are active in the country. Polonium Mentoring has the 3rd edition right now. Right now we have the mentees recruitment, and we are looking for participants. So if you are interested and would you like to learn more about this program, I would like to invite you to ask me questions after this panel. Internationalization. I've read a report about the organization of higher education, and mentoring was there. There was a tiny subchapter, and it turns out that it can be an intermediary way to increase internationalization. Why? Because the relationship is sincere. It's not a relationship between the doctoral advisor and the student, or coaching where you give somebody money for advice. This relationship is natural. It's not fund motivated. From my perspective, as the leader for this program, I can see that such relationships last longer than, for example, 10 months long cooperation. Such volunteers are willing to strike such a relationship, and this relationship is long-lasting. Quite often, thanks to this, we have migration. For example, the mentee comes to the mentor. For example, Javier Dominguez, who works in the International Nuclear Research Center, great professor. He invited his mentee, a Polish student, Grzegorz, to the institute, and Grzegorz is going to start work there. We have many such stories. You can read about them on our website. I don't want to take more time here, but if you have any other questions, then you're invited to ask them. I want to say that this discussion is very nice, and we have a group of very nice people here. Unfortunately, we haven't gone through even half of what we have planned for today, and our time is running up. I'd like to ask you for one sentence of summary, or maybe recommendation, or maybe advice concerning what to focus on in terms of internationalization of doctoral studies, doctoral schools environment from the doctoral studies participants' perspective. Oh, it will be very difficult to say everything in one sentence. When we developed the strategy for internationalization of doctoral schools, we should do a very profound research, just like in other countries. I could share examples with you, but we do not have time for it here. I believe Ignacy said something very important. We should look after the doctoral studies participants here in Poland, because they can speak English here and they can communicate with us, but they cannot communicate at town hall. And this is concerning formal organization, and we should look into this situation. And that's it. Professor, I want to say, just from my heart, that the most important thing is to show every doctoral studies participant, irrespective of whether the person comes from Poland or from other country, we should show them that it's important, very important, or even the most important in a given moment, and in a given topic, and in a given doctoral school, that this person is very important. And this human support can do miracles and give wings to those people. It gives a lot, even though it's not easy. You have to believe that you are important. I would like to add that we have to remember about being open. about the fact that we should not be afraid. Every experience teaches us something new. We should be open to new cultures, to doctoral studies participants from other countries, because it is going to be an added value to our professional career and private life. If we're talking about assistance and support, we're going to talk about mentorship. And you know where to look for it. Yes, but I do not want to promote myself only or the Polonium Foundation. I want to say that there are other mentorship programs organized in several institutes. I work in the National Institute of Molecular Biology and Nuclear Biology, and there is such a program there. There are more and more options, and it is a great way to look into the subject and find a person who really wants to help you. Especially when you're at the very key moments of your career. For example, when you graduate from with the MA diploma or MS diploma, or maybe you're you're the doctoral studies graduate. And these are very important steps in your career, important stages of your career. I needed support at these stages, and I think that some other people may need it too. So I encourage you to contact me. Maybe we'll have supper together here, and maybe we'll have time to discuss it. MS engineer, let's sum up in this manly manner shortly and very concretely.
Ladies and gentlemen, some of you have probably already done international internship. Some of you are planning to do it. Imagine how you felt, or imagine how you will feel when you go there. Imagine what it's like to go to a foreign place where you don't know anyone, and then imagine how you would like to be welcomed. And